and welcome back to the latest episode of the Master of None podcast. I am your host, as always, Stephen Murphy, and we have a special guest to kick off the new season of podcast. I am delighted to be joined by Connacht senior player Tom Daly. Tom, thank you very much for joining us. How are you?
All good, Stephen, and thanks very much for having me on. I'm looking forward to it.
No problem, no problem. I was happy to hear that you've heard of the podcast before, and it was all positive. So we'll try and keep that positive vibes going throughout the podcast. But first of all, Tom, look, you're back in preseason. How's your summer been? Did you enjoy your time off?
It was great to get a bit of time off. Obviously, the season last year was extremely long due to the COVID and whatnot. And I think by the time I finished up in camp, we had been training for nearly 13 months. With games and all in between, so it was a long out haul, and it was nice to get a couple of weeks off. We ended up getting 5 weeks altogether, which you can't complain about. So had a bit of time at home in Carlow. Was over in Portugal for a week, and I was actually over in London as well for a week. So it was nice that the restrictions had lifted a bit by the time our holidays came around as well. So yeah, it was nice to get the rest, but obviously back in the last few weeks and kind of itching to get going again now. Games coming up in the next couple of weeks, so we're looking forward to them.
I'm sure Carlow was the most scenic of all the spots you were.
Yeah, well, when the weather, that week or two in the middle, when the weather was incredible, there was nowhere better to be. But it was great to get home, because last year, for the majority of the season, we weren't really allowed to leave the sports ground bubble. So I was kind of in Galway for 6-7 months without going home. So it was nice just to get home and spend a bit of time with the family and stuff. So that was kind of important this summer. And then obviously, of course, to get abroad was great as well, because we haven't been able to travel for nearly 2 years now. So that was class as well.
Nice. And are you allowed to go, when you do go on these holidays, are you allowed to kind of go mental, or do you still have to be, professional sports person, sensible, or can you eat what you want, drink what you want? Is that allowed?
You can kind of go as mad as you want, but there's always a fitness test when you get back. So you want to make sure you're in some sort of decent condition for the training when you get back. But no, you can obviously enjoy yourself and eat what you want and drink what you want, have a few good nights out and stuff. But kind of them last 2 or 3 weeks before you go back in, you probably start doing a little bit more training, and it's kind of doing your own training, which is kind of enjoyable as well. Like the S&C will send you out programs, but they kind of leave it up to yourself, kind of what sort of stuff you want to do in the gym and stuff, because you're spending 10-11 months of the year doing programs provided by them. So it's kind of nice to be able to do a bit of your own training, I suppose, for a couple of weeks before you go back in.
Yeah, I know Friendly was back home for a while. So was he still in touch with you guys, or is it other members of management, or as you said, is it just the strength and conditioning kind of guys that does be in contact?
It would mostly be the S&C lads. That's kind of the programs and stuff we'd be getting sent out. But Friendly would send in there's obviously a team WhatsApp group, and there'd be the odd few messages going into that. And it's you probably hear from them on the last week of the season, then you don't hear from them for a couple of weeks, and then kind of coming back towards the start of preseason, they might start these few logistic things about what day and what time and stuff you're coming back in. And even this year we still have to come in different groups because of COVID, and we had to get tested at certain times and stuff like that. So that obviously adds to the logistics end of it. But time off, I'm sure the coaches are the same. They want to get away from it. They don't really want to be thinking about the sports ground or training and stuff, because we're in there every day of the year. So I think Friendly and all the other coaches enjoyed their time off as much as we did, and it's well deserved as well.
Yeah, it's funny you said that you all came back at different times, because I saw that a couple of the lads were back at the sports ground training, and then at the same time there was a lot of you still over abroad, sunning yourselves, living the life. So I felt bad for the boys back at the sports ground slogging away, yeah. But I suppose that's all part of it. But preseason's underway. Tom, how's it going? How long have you been back kind of into the sports ground?
I think this is my 3rd week now, and it's been very, very tough. It's the coaching staff and all has obviously changed this year, and they're kind of going about training a different way. They want to increase the intensity of training and kind of play a faster brand of rugby, maybe, without giving too much of the stuff away. But that's kind of the basis of training at the minute. And myself and Boiler and Blady and Finley and the lads who've been in camp, we couldn't believe how tough the training was when we came back in, because the lads were obviously 3 or 4 weeks deep into preseason, and they were flying around like madmen, and we were panting on our arses in the first few weeks. But no, it's obviously really good to see, and I think it's important that training is of a high standard, because that's where you get ready for the weekend. And yeah, it's been really enjoyable, but really really tough, which I suppose is a good thing in preseason.
And which of the new coaches is really pushing that? Is that Peter Wilkins now in his new role, or is it kind of a joint effort?
It's kind of a joint effort, I suppose. I suppose Pete is over the attack, and that would be his side of it. And he's had a few really good presentations on how he sees attack in rugby and how he wants it to be played. And he probably looks at it different than other coaches I've seen in the past, but it's definitely a really exciting way of looking at it. And he's really big on playing like a fast brand and not kind of waiting for structure and like playing the play for the sake of it. He's more play what you see and just play it fast and play it before the defense is set, which is a very simple but effective way of looking at it. And hopefully now when the games start to come back and you lads are in the sports ground or watching on TV or whatever, you'll hopefully be able to see a really exciting brand of rugby from Connacht this year.
Is that something that excites you then, Tom, obviously as centre? Is that something that you think that will, fit your strengths as a player?
Yeah, definitely. And even speaking to some of the back three like Porchy and Alex Wotton and Kieran and the boys, and they've said they haven't had their hands on the ball as much in the last couple of years. So I think when you have back three like them lads who you saw last year when they got the ball in space, how much damage they can do, I think it's important that we play to our strengths and use them lads and get the ball in their hands as much as we can. And I think over the years, Connacht have had this reputation of being a really expansive attacking team. So it's important that we kind of play to that. And that's probably why we have so many fans around the country and in Connacht in particular, that the brand rugby we play is attractive. And hopefully this year we can bring it to another level.
Absolutely. The preseason, is it mainly kind of getting back up to a certain fitness? Like, do you have a chance to work on something that you want in particular in your own game, or as I said, is it mainly kind of fitness focused?
I think when you hear of preseason, people often think it's just lining up on the line, doing sprints, doing runs. It's not really like that anymore, and I think it's the same in every rugby club. It's not just Connacht that most of the fitness is now done through rugby. So you get your fitness in extended periods of play, but you're actually playing rugby, if you get me. So to just throw the ball in and you're playing 20, 30 phases, and that's how you'll get your fitness. It's not just these boring shuttle runs and stuff like that anymore. Obviously, there is a bit of that at the very start, but a lot of it comes through small-sided games and 15 on 15 actual rugby, but you just let the play roll. If there's a knock on, the other team just plays, whereas in an actual match it would stop and you'd get a break, that sort of thing. So I think that's probably the best way of training, because in games you're going to be fatigued, and it's how you can perform in them fatigue situations. So that's the kind of the aim of preseason. And then you asked there about individual stuff, and in Connacht we kind of have this craft block. It might be at the start or at the end of the session where you break into your specific positions, or with players that want to work on the same sort of thing. And there's like obviously kicking blocks, passing blocks, tackle blocks, whatever you want to do. So you can kind of pick and choose which one you want to do that week. So that's probably a good way of being able to work on what you want to work on, and you kind of pick your area in line with the coaches. Like you have a discussion with the coaches on what they think they want to see more from you, or what you think you need to get better at, and that's how it goes. So it's really structured, but definitely very effective.
And was there something personally going into the preseason that you did want to work on in your own game, or is there something that you wanted to kind of strengthen?
I think as a centre, I think it's kind of that passing game is probably something that I know I have, and I probably want to show it more in games. And even the fact that I've been covering 10 for Connacht for the last couple of years, and this year, who knows, I could have to do it again. So I think it's just something I need to stay on top of. And then I think maybe my differential as a centre is maybe my kicking game. So I always work on that as well, just because you don't just only want to work on what you're bad at. You kind of want to work on what you're good at and keep yourself good at them sort of things. So kicking would be another thing that I spend quite a lot of time working on. And so yeah, maybe them two, and then just keeping on top of my tackle stuff as well, because defense is obviously half the game as well. It's not all attacking. So I kind of just them basic skills of catch, pass, tackle, kicking. They're kind of my three areas that I usually work on.
Nice. We saw the new jersey and kind of gear launched. I'm rocking myself here. One of the tops. Looks great on me, as everyone knows, I'm sure. The media days and the photo shoots. We see all the players in. I don't know if you were in them, Tom, but do you enjoy them days? Is it just a bit of crack, or is that one of the chores of sort of being a professional rugby player?
No, there's definitely a bit of crack. There's a few different ones throughout the year. There's obviously the new jersey launch that you talked about there. So I think they were done like at the start of preseason. So none of the other lads who were in camp were back in. So weren't involved in them ones. But the actual headshots photo days, you probably saw them on the Instagram the last few days of the new lads and stuff. They're a bit of crack because they kind of make you do celebrations and awkward stuff like that. So it can be a bit of crack, but also it can be kind of awkward at times, but kind of has to be done, I suppose. And it's kind of awkward because you're standing there in front of the camera and there's three other lads waiting behind the camera to throw next, and they're all just like trying to make you laugh while you're trying to do a serious headshot. So that's the sort of carry on that happens.
When you're trying to get your Vogue on and your blue steel, you need to get in the right headspace.
Well, like you just don't want the big smiley headshots where you just look stupid. So
it's like back in the school days.
Exactly.
Is there any player that enjoys the modelling a bit too much? In another life, could they be models?
Definitely Tiernan. Anyway, he loves that. He wants a big crowd around him when he's doing it as well. And maybe Jack Harty, I'd say, could fit into that category as well. The two of them would do well.
Porchy was face of the new jersey as well. He looked like he enjoyed it himself too, Porchy. So you never know. Back maybe in Australia, he could be getting some brand deals.
Yeah, maybe. Just I don't think Porchy has a good look for it, though.
You'll not be happy to hear that. How are you've kind of mentioned already the new signings? We saw Mac Henson, Shane Bolton, Leva Fafita, Greg McGrath, Sam Elo recently, and Will Riley. I think that's all. I may have forgotten one or two. If I did, apologies. But have you kind of got to meet them guys? Kind of get to mix with them and see how they're getting on?
Yeah, no, definitely. They're all top lads. Still, obviously, getting to know them. I'm only in there the last 3 weeks and getting to know them a bit better. But they all look serious players. Leva, the second row, Jesus Christ, he's a unit. He's like Abraham 2.0.
That's fantastic to hear from the fans' perspective. We were hoping that was the case, so it's great to have that is the case.
Yeah, he's the typical hardy second row and going around enforcing lads in training. So hopefully we see a good bit of that this year. And then Mac and Shane Bolton look really good in the back line. We had an in-house game the other day, and there was two teams put against each other, proper referee and full contact or whatever. And Mac had a really, really good game. He impressed me a lot. Kind of like a smart, skillful footballer, really good kicking game, good hands, good decision making. And then when he got a bit of space and he opened up and he looked really quick as well. So he'll definitely be very useful. And Shane is obviously very young, but he's a big physical center, and he can move. He's actually run the quickest time in preseason, so it's very impressive. And he's only 21 years of age, so he has a lot of development to go too. So he'll be a very exciting player as well. So they've all impressed me. Poor Sam is having trouble with an injury at the minute, so he hasn't got to train yet. So still waiting to see him on the pitch, but he's working hard, and hopefully we'll see him back in the next couple of weeks.
Can I ask what position Mac Henson played, or is that off the books?
He played across the back three.
Right. Okay.
We kind of did three different teams, so I think he could have played wing and fullback, and I think he can cover 10 as well. I haven't seen him do it yet, but he kind of reminded me a bit of Kyle Godwin, that you could kind of put him anywhere and he'd do a job. Yeah. So they're definitely kind of useful players to have in your squad.
Yeah, well, the reason I asked is because when he was signed, that was sort of said he can cover a lot of positions, and that seems to be a regular theme across the guys we have seen is athleticism, as you said. Like even Sam Elo, who's a prop, like from the under-20s, we saw like absolute kind of specimen of an athlete, and it's great to hear Leva's obviously sort of fitting that bill too, and Mac Henson, Shane Bolton. So it kind of leads to my next question, Tom. Like last year with injuries and stuff like that, sometimes it was tough. As you said yourself, you had to cover kind of 10. Is it great to see now? I was on another podcast recently and we were talking about Connacht's depth, and it seems to be really strong this year. We went through the team, and the second row, there's about 6 guys there who could play any week in, week out, and it would be strong now, especially in the backs with the likes of Mac and Shane, who can play a lot of positions. That has to be exciting for you guys to see that kind of depth week in, week out.
No, definitely. Yeah. I think you said it there. Like previous years you may have struggled, like second row. I remember one year we were down to the bare bones, and even centre last year, like I wasn't complaining, I got to play every week. But like if anything was to happen to, I know Sam played the majority of nearly every game at the start of the season. Then he got his chest injury, and then Bundy was back, and when Bundy was gone, then Sean O'Brien stood up. So like we were down to the bare bones in the centre as well at stages, and you probably would have said, looking at the squad sheet, that centre is one of our strongest positions. But injuries happen in rugby, and you have to have players who are able to fill in and do jobs in different positions. And I think we're lucky in the backs in particular. We have a lot of players like that, like Porchy across the back three could probably do a job at 13 if you needed to. Mac now can cover numerous positions. Yeah, and there's other back threes who could fit in the centre, and Sammy's obviously done a really good job for us in the wing on a few occasions last year. So I think that's definitely important. And then you just see these lads being added to the squad, and that just adds to that depth. And like professional rugby, the way it's going, there's going to be numerous injuries every year, and you just need a big squad. You see the top teams who are winning European Cups, they rarely put out the same 15. It's about keeping players fresh and being able to put out a very strong team every week, whether that's the same team or not. But I think, yeah, just adding these players is definitely going to only benefit us this year.
Absolutely. We'll talk about last season a bit, Tom. How did you look back at the last season in terms of the team's performance? Was it happy when you look back? Are you happy thoughts? Kind of, are you disappointed? How do you feel about it?
From the team's perspective, we're probably a little bit disappointed because we had these massive wins, like we beat Ulster, Munster, Leinster away, and that kind of just showed us how good we can be and when we want to be. And then there was not loads, I'm not going to say loads, there was 2 or 3 or 4 really frustrating defeats, like the one at home to Edinburgh, the one at home to Ospreys, Scarlets at home. There's definitely one more I can't think of at the minute, but
we don't need to think about it, Tom. We don't need it. It's gone. It's over. Yeah, don't even bother.
Exactly,
don't even think about it.
It's gone. But like when you just compare them 2 performances, like say the Leinster away one to one of them ones, it was just frustrating in the difference in performance. And it's definitely something we've talked about and we're definitely going to work on, is just being more consistent at that high level. Because even that Racing away game, I know we lost, but like we ran Racing very, very close at home in that AstroTurf pitch, and it's not often they usually win bonus point wins every week there, and big teams have gone there and got just like big European teams like have gone there and have got hammered. So I think it just showed how good we can be, and that's probably the overall team of looking back on last season, just some massive performances and some really, really good performances, and then some frustrating losses. So it's probably just about getting a little bit more consistent and performing to that level as much as we can.
This wasn't on my list of questions, but when you said it, it just came to me. How did you like that Racing pitch, the stadium? Is it as cool as it looks?
Oh, it's unreal, to be honest. Like we don't actually usually do this, but the coaches thought it would be important in that game to actually go to the stadium the morning of the match just to get it out of the way, because it's so different to anything you've experienced before. It's literally like I don't know how, it's like a nightclub, because there's like these big screens the whole way around it. Like the whole outside of the stadium is just lights, and then the seats go up, and then massive big screens, and there's music blaring and stuff. It's like such a weird experience. But the pitch itself is the same as any of the Astros, like Glasgow or Cardiff, or any of them, and the one we might be getting. But yeah, like there was obviously no fans when we were there, which made it even weirder. But I'd say in that stadium full of fans and with the lights and music going, this is such a different experience to any rugby match you would have played.
Are Connacht also getting the 4 massive screens and the nightclub vibe?
Yeah, I think there's a special bar going on the Clanstand side with lights and everything.
Sounds good. Yeah. You mentioned there previously some of the losses, and the regular team last year for the kind of weird losses was the home form, and it was an anomaly really that they had, like I think 6. You had 5 or 6 losses in a row at home. Has the team talked about that specifically? Like, is there any kind of idea as to why that was?
Yeah, we have, and I think there's probably we didn't really have a specific plan to play in that type of weather last year, and it's probably something we should have, because we're going to play in it quite a lot. So it's definitely something we've talked about and worked on this preseason, and we're kind of very specific about the way we're going to play and in what areas of the pitch we're going to do what. So I think this year hopefully it'll be a lot clearer in people's heads about what way we're going to attack and what we're going to do in certain positions. So, and hopefully that will help in them sort of games when maybe you have a gale force wind blowing into you and rain blowing the other way and whatnot you could have in the sports ground. So I think we're definitely going to be a lot more specific about our planning going into games this year, and I think that's going to help a lot.
Was the lack of fans obviously, an impact? Like, I often feel bad for like the likes of the Abraham Papali's and those guys, like coming into a new team, you couldn't really kind of mix with the players as much as you kind of wanted to, playing games with no fans. Like, what the new kind of signings, did they mention that? Was that weird?
They haven't mentioned it to me personally, but I'm sure it is, because like the sports ground isn't obviously the most glamorous of stadiums. It's not the biggest stadium, but when the fans are in, it's class. Like how close the clan stand is to the pitch and how loud the fans are here. Like one of my good mates, I lived with him when I was in Dublin and when I was with Leinster, and he came down to a few games before COVID hit. I think he was down at one of the Munster games over Christmas 2 years ago, and the crowd was unbelievable, and he just couldn't believe. Like looking on TV, he said like the sports ground doesn't look much, but when he was there, he couldn't believe the atmosphere. He said it's way better than any atmosphere he's been at any other rugby game. So, yeah, it's obviously frustrating for the lads who just came last year and just came this year that they haven't got to experience yet. But I'm sure this year there's talks of crowds being led into the preseason games, and hopefully by the opening round of the Pro 14 or URC, whatever it's called, we'll have a decent enough crowd there and get the clan back on again, because we definitely missed it last year. Yeah, that could even have had an impact on some of them games. Like I'm sure that Munster game at home where we came back into it, I'm sure if the crowd is there, like I'm not going to say we would have won, but it would have changed a little bit. It definitely gives you that extra boost. Like so.
I'm comfortable saying we would have won. I'm comfortable saying that, Tom. We'll say it. We can't be proven otherwise, so why wouldn't we say it?
That's the reason we lost.
Yeah, exactly. That was it. Yeah, I like it. We'll stick to that story. Some massive results, as you already mentioned. As I said, you beat each one of the provinces, which doesn't happen too often. And most of them away from home. That has to, though, at the same time, I know frustrating losses can be annoying, but the fact that you bet those teams, it has to make you excited, and the potential of this team is just sky high.
Oh, definitely, yeah. That's I said it there. I think I don't think Connacht have done it before, beating the three provinces away from home, beat Leinster and Dublin, Munster and Limerick, and Ulster up there. So, and three well. The Ulster one was very tight, but like the Leinster one was convincing, and I thought that Munster one we were very good on the day and didn't give them an inch. And yeah, no, like it definitely gives you confidence, and that's why it was so frustrating the whole year, because we had these massive performances beating the top teams in Europe, and then just them frustrating losses, which we won't talk about anymore. But it definitely gives you confidence, and even them European games, like you're running racing close, and it just gives you a real energy build when you see that draw this year that we're going to have Leicester, another crack at Leicester in Europe, and Stade Francais in Paris doesn't get much better than that. So hopefully we get to be involved in a few of them, and they're definitely the big ones.
Yeah, exactly. Personally, for you, last year, fantastic season. You were voted Player of the Year. You were also voted Master of None Player of the Year, Tom. I don't know if I'm sure that was one of your biggest, achievements in life. I didn't get your trophy. I should send you over a trophy. Apologies, I'll send you over a trophy.
Don't worry.
But like, how happy were you with your year? Like, I know obviously you look back at the team, you have to look back as a team's sake, but personally, you have to be very happy with how your year went.
Oh, definitely. No, yeah, it was an incredible year for me personally. I think I kind of targeted going into the preseason. I knew there was a lot of competition in the centre in Connacht. We had brought in Sammy, who's big name from Munster, and obviously Bundy's going to be there, and Tom Farrell and Pete Robb. Like, it's a position stacked with talent, and I kind of said this year I'm going to do whatever I can to become a regular starter in the team. And I kind of got my chances earlier on, and things went my way. I played pretty well, kept my position, and then just seemed to keep going from there. And I was, looking back, I was absolutely delighted with the year. Delighted with the year. And obviously then coming towards Christmas and stuff, I kind of started coming into my head that I had this goal of getting into an Irish squad, and didn't happen over the Six Nations. But then eventually in the summer, I was absolutely delighted to get that call into camp, because looking back maybe 2 or 3 years ago, like when I came over from Leinster, I was probably miles away from an Irish squad. I just wanted to get into a provincial team and make a name for myself. And luckily enough, I got a chance to do that this year and got into a national camp, which was always a goal of mine, but it probably only became realistic this season when I started to get that run of form, and yeah, that was just a class feeling to get, and hopefully there's more to come.
Exactly. Yeah, we'll get on to the Irish stuff soon. You struggled the last few seasons with injuries, just injury, bad luck with that. But then to go nearly this last season where it seemed like you played every game, I'm sure you had one or two off, but it seemed like you played every game. Did you change anything when it comes to preparation or like after a game, or is it just literally just the luck of the draw?
I think it's a bit of a luck of the draw, and when I was getting like my time in Leinster, I was injured. I seemed to get injured every season, so something different. And I think just the run of games last year, I think the more you play, the more robust your body gets, the more used to rugby you get. And I know talking to other lads like Porchy in particular says the more he plays, he wants to play every week because he feels he's at his best when he plays every week. Whereas if he takes breaks, he feels like he's at risk of getting injury. And I think I could be the same. Obviously when I was younger, I was kind of in and out of teams and might play one game and wouldn't play for 3 or 4 weeks and then play again. And that seems to be when I was picking up injuries. So I think just your body gets used to the toll of professional rugby. And obviously last year, as you said, I played the majority of games and my body seemed to hold up fine. I think like after each game, I got more and more used to it. And I think that could be a big part of it because you do see players who seem to struggle with injuries and they come back and then they get injured again. And because their body's not used to the intensity and obviously the toll of the contact in professional rugby. So I think once if you can get lucky to stay fit for a certain amount of time, it seems to help that you stay fit for a long time. So long may it continue.
Absolutely, yeah, 100%. Well, let's hope you continue that, right? You've had a good few centre partners this year, as you mentioned, between Bundy and Sean O'Brien. Is that hard to get a rhythm then when you're the constant? Is it tough, lads coming in sometimes week in, week out?
Not really, because you train with these lads every day. Like, you hear that a lot that they haven't built up a partnership or they might not know each other inside out, but like you train with them every day, and it's not like you don't know how they play or what they're good at. So no, I don't think it's hard. Obviously, it's nice playing with the same person for week on week because you do build a relationship. But like if say Sammy was in and he gets out and Tom Farrell comes in, like I know Tom Farrell years now, and there's no hesitation in playing. I know what he's going to do. I know he's going to look for an offload every time he brings it in, and I know he's going to have a go on the outside. Whereas if you're playing with Sammy, you know he's going to carry bloody hard and get over the gain line and smash lads in defence, and they all have their own individual skills, and you know what their skills are. And I don't like when you're named to play with someone that week, you train with them all week, you're with them all week in training. So it's not like it's just a complete shock and this lad is going to go off and do something crazy. Like it's not too bad at all.
Yes, as you mentioned, Tom Farrell. Hopefully, it'd be great to have him back this year. And he also makes a good cup of coffee, which is also, and I'm sure it's handy in around the Connacht sports grounds.
Hatch 91. There's a little
free ad for them there. Your amazing performances led then to captaining Connacht towards the end of last season. Is that something that you were expecting?
No. To be honest, it was a complete shock. I remember it was that Munster away game, and I didn't even notice when they named when they were like kind of the training teams were put out. They put out a training team at the start of the week. It's not the actual team, but like it'd be fairly similar to the team that's going to be named. And I didn't actually notice that JB or whoever else wasn't playing. And it was just when I went home that evening, Friendy will name the team. And the next morning, and he usually gives you a call if you're going to be dropped or something. So I was like, oh, here's Friendy ringing me, trying to try rest me or drop me for this game.
Just don't answer. Just don't answer, Tom.
Yeah, one of the biggest games of the year. But then he said, listen, he wants to be the captain, and it was a massive shock because I'm only here a year and a half or whatever, and but like he just kind of said, your performances on the pitch, you warrant it. Don't change anything, just lead by example like you do on the pitch. You don't need to start shouting and roaring unnecessarily. And he's like, the lads respect you for what you do on the pitch, so just continue to do that. And like it was very simple because there was lads on the team, like Marmo was playing that day, Owen Masterson was playing that day, lads who have over 150 caps for Connacht or whatever, and I could turn to them when I needed advice. And it was actually like it was a very simple, and just because I had so many leaders around me, and JB gave me a call to congratulate me and kind of told me not to change anything either. So just that sort of advice from senior players kind of made me not be nervous about it, if that's the way you want to put it. But yeah, it was obviously a massive honor, and it was really nice really nice to get that vote of confidence off Friendly, I suppose.
And like, do you forget about it like when you're in the game? Do you like just like when a penalty happens? Are you looking around for like JB, as you said? Are you looking around for the captain and you're like, oh, it's me?
That actually did happen. The ref called in the captains, and I was over like chatting to Sean O'Brien or something about the last play or something. Everyone was calling me, and I was like, "Oh shit, yeah, I'm captain." Sorry. And,
sorry, guys, that's me.
Yeah, but like, no, it was easy, and like anytime we had a decision to make, like I could consult with Masters or Marmo or whoever was there at the time, and it was pretty straightforward, to be honest. It was a class experience, and the fact that we won just made it even better.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, is it something that you want to like that to be in the future for a goal for you to captain, or is it still kind of let's see what happens?
No, definitely. I'd love to do it again, and I'm sure, like, I'm not going to go straight in as club captain or anything, but I'd love to maybe get that opportunity a couple of times a season where, say, JB or whoever else isn't playing, that Friendly trusts me to do a job, and yeah, no, it's definitely something I'd be interested in, and I enjoy doing it. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
Absolutely. Well, you're 1 from 1, so you can't argue with those stats.
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
You also got a call up, as you mentioned, to the Irish squad in the summer. I know you got a call from Andy Farrell that Sunday. Can you tell us about how that call went? Were you expecting it?
What did I have? The call from Andy Farrell came just before the Six Nations squad was named. He called me the night before it, and that was in February, and he was like, "Oh, you were close. Your form is being recognised. Just keep going or whatever." So like then leading into the summer squad, I kind of was hoping. I just wanted to keep my form good and stay injury free, and then and then I think the squad was being named on a Monday, but Friendly obviously found out on the Sunday, and he actually called all the Connacht lads just to tell them who was in and who wasn't, because the IRFU had sent a list of 10 or 12 players maybe who were in the Connacht squad who had to continue training while the other lads went on holidays, because do you remember Connacht finished a week before the other provinces or something like that, so we had to stay training doing fitness for 2 weeks while the other lads were on holidays, and then Friendly found out before the squad was actually named, so he gave the lads a heads up. So the 6 of us who got named were told that we're in, and the other 4 he told can go off on their holidays now. So we kind of got a heads up from Friendly on the Sunday, and then the squad was named on the Monday at 12 o'clock, and I think we got an email around 11 just saying this is the itinerary, you're in or whatever. But no, it was unreal, because like I knew I had a chance of being in, but like I was so nervous, and I kept asking Friendly every week, like, when's the squad being named, when are we going to know, kind of thing, and he didn't know any more than we knew. So I remember Boiler being in the same situation, because we both knew we had a chance, but like there was no certainties, obviously. And then Friendly gave me the call, and it was just it was class. It was a massive honor, and it was just something that I've been working towards for that whole year, and kind of relief more than anything, because I would have been very disappointed if it wasn't in it.
Well, it's great to hear you say that, because sometimes we see players and they're so professional about it, saying like, I'm just kind of focused on myself. But it is great to hear. And we had Paul Boyle on as well, and he was the same. He's like, of course I want to play for Ireland. Like, why wouldn't I? It's always been a dream of mine. So it is great to hear a professional player say that. It sounds like you love the experience. Was there anything that kind of took you by surprise when it came to the Irish setup, or was it exactly what you were thinking it was going to be?
No, it was tough. Now, it was like very intense and very high standards. Training was extremely tough, extremely high. I think it's just because every player in there is probably the top few players in their club, and the standard is definitely just up another level from what I was used to, and speed of training and reaction time, all this stuff that you hear. But it's actually all true. It was very tough, and took me a few days to adapt to, obviously. But I think by the end of it, I was enjoying it and stuff. Obviously, I would have loved to have got captain. I was very disappointed I didn't get named in that America team, but we'll forget about that now. And hopefully, come November, hopefully I might get a chance to go in again. And I know they're playing America again in that first game, so I'll target that. Hopefully
Vegas as well, Tom. Vegas as well.
Yeah,
would be nice.
And I'll stay on for a week or two after, hopefully.
Yeah, exactly. You'll be getting a call from Friendly. I know we were all gutted when you didn't get that cap in the second game, because we were all very much hoping you were. And we were kind of obviously very, very, very vocal on social media. It sounds like it sounds like you're not, like, you're obviously disappointed, but it sounds like you haven't let it kind of impact your view on the whole thing, which obviously is great. But I'm sure it was disappointing at the time.
Yeah, it was absolutely gutting. And for the week after, I was probably the worst person to be around. I was absolutely gutted. But then, like, I had to go to the game with 24th man, which was tough in itself. But then when I saw Blady and Boiler and the lads getting their cap, like, it was unbelievable. I was so happy for the two of them because, like, Blady in particular has been knocking on that door for the last couple of years, and Boiler as well. He's just become such an important player for us as well, and I think they both really deserved their caps, and it was just class to see them and enjoy a beer with them after it in Shelburne. So that made it good. But then, yeah, obviously the few days after that, I was very disappointed and just wanted to get away from it all, and wasn't looking forward to going back to rugby at all after that. But then a week or two passes and you're just dying to get back in, and there's only 4 or 5 games before the next squad is picked, so I just want to put my best foot forward in them games and hopefully put my name in the hat again.
Does Andy Farrell, does he have a quiet word with you and kind of explain his thought process, or is it more ruthless than that?
No, we had a good chat at the end of it when he was naming the team, and he gave me reasons and gave me what he wants me to work on, and I've been working on them, and hopefully I'll do enough and show him that in the games. And that's probably the most important thing now, is not to look back and just focus on these games with Connacht and winning games for Connacht. And I'm sure if Connacht are playing well and we're winning games and I'm playing well, then there's not much more I can do. So that's really where my focus is now.
Exactly, yeah. Well, speaking of that, we'll look ahead to the new season. What do you think of the new URC format, or even the name? Do you like the name change?
Seems to change every year, so I can't really.
Yeah, don't get too attached.
I don't really get too attached to them, but it's cool. Yeah, it's the branding and all. They've done a lot. You can see a good bit of it going out on social media. So hopefully now it brings up the standards and brings more fans into the stadiums, and the fact that I think most games on RTE and stuff this year, which will definitely be good.
More media outlets for sure. Yeah,
that's definitely a good thing, and there'll be more people watching the games and stuff, and that can only be good for the game of rugby in Ireland and for the province as well. So no, looking forward to it, and the fact that these South African teams are in it, they're the 4 good South African teams, and all the Springboks internationals are going to be in it, so it's definitely going to be a lot tougher this year. And no, I can't complain when there's hopefully a 2-week trip to South Africa at some stage in the year, so we're looking forward to that as well.
Yeah, I'll go on the plan. Have the team discussed the new format? Obviously, instead of 2 tables, now you've got the 1 table, and has that been discussed much yet, or is that kind of in the next couple of weeks?
I'd say the next couple of weeks. We haven't really talked about that at all. It's kind of probably get through these 2 preseason games, and because we're playing a whole different style of rugby, and there's loads of different things that we need to get through in our meetings that are more important than that. And I'm sure coming into the first round of that, we'll talk about stuff like that. But I presume it'll be the same. Is it like every year you just take it game by game? Whoever you're playing that week, you want to beat them, and there's not much to do with the table or conferences really talked about, until the business end of the year, of course, when you need to look at bonus points and stuff like that. But for the first few games, we'll be looking for wins and just beating who's in front of us. I suppose that's kind of the most important thing, isn't it?
First home game against the Bulls, so that'll be a good one to open up the calendar with. Going into the season, do you have any personal goals set going into the season?
Yeah, well, definitely. Obviously, I'd love to get an Irish cap this year, and got close last year. Didn't go my way, so that's obviously the ultimate goal for me, is to get involved in them Irish squads again. And then, obviously, as a team, our goal is to win some trophy this year. That Pro 12 and 20. Different name again. It was Pro 12 when we won it anyway in 2016. But like hearing the lads talk about that and how good that season was and how good the week after it was, like it just drive you on to do it again. And I think with the team that we have, we should be very confident that we can do something similar this year. And obviously being back in the Champions Cup as well, that's just, I think that like every player will say they're the games that they want to play in, them Champions Cup games against the big French and English teams. They're class, and hopefully we can put our best foot forward in that tournament this year and make quarterfinals, semifinals, whatever it is. We'll definitely get out of the group, hopefully, and go and win the URC. That's the right name, isn't it?
Yeah. You got there eventually. You mentioned the Champions Cup qualification and how important it is. This new URC, the format, it's even tougher than ever to make that Champions Cup kind of grade. Like you've already kind of touched on it, but can you just stress like how important it is for the progression of players such as yourself and the team at Connacht playing at that level, how much it brings the team on?
No, it's so important, and it's just I can't emphasize how good them games are to play in, because even just like little things like walking out onto the pitch and that Champions Cup song is playing in the background. It's just like things that you've grown up watching that on TV, and that song is just like so like so famous in your head, and then you're walking out to that song. It's just class. I remember my first game was in Champions Cup was at home to Montpellier a couple of years ago, and the crowd is unreal. We ended up winning, and it was like playing against Jan Serfontein in the centre. It was like one of my, it could have even been one. No, I'd started a good few games for Connacht, but I remember this was like the biggest game I had started for Connacht yet, and it went well, and we won, and it was just a class experience. So no, they're definitely the biggest games and the ones you want to play in. And then I think for the club as well, it obviously means a lot financially and whatnot to be in the Champions Cup. So it's definitely a massive goal for the club every year. But yeah, I actually don't know, but I know it's more difficult to qualify this year. Is it only one Irish team, or one Irish team gets an automatic qualification or something like
So
that?
yeah, so it's out of the four pools, the top team in each pool automatically qualifies, and then it's the next top four teams in the league table.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
So, obviously Leinster will be favourites in the Irish pool, unfortunately. They'll be favourites to go through, and then it's supposed to make it kind of fairer for, like, to say the Italian teams, the Scottish teams, and
Yeah,
all like that. So,
but
but
it
we'll
makes it
see.
more unfair on the Irish team probably, because for the four best
Well,
teams.
yeah, that's what they said they're going to do it for 2 years, and then they'll revamp. They'll look at it
Okay.
and see if it's fair or not. But it could be tough for the 2 years. But look, we'll always stay positive here, Tom. As you
Definitely.
mentioned already, a bit of a switch up in terms of coaching staff. Mossy Lawler and Colin Tucker coming in now. Do you have much experience with those guys, or is this kind of your first time working with them?
First time working with them directly. I obviously have done bits and bobs with both of them because they're around the place, and I was doing a good bit of tackle extras with Gully Tucker last year. He's big on the defensive side of the game, and I would have done a lot of work with him. And obviously Mossy is, I can't get over how good of a coach he is, how detailed he is in what he does. And I had heard from the academy lads how highly they spoke of him. So it's just class to see that firsthand. And no, it's really exciting, the coaching team we have in place. I think any player you have on will speak very highly of Pete Wilkins. He's an incredible coach, an incredible presenter, and he like gets his ideas across so well, and his ideas are all very clear, and I think that's important when you're presenting to a team. Everyone wants to be on the same page. So no, it's a very exciting coaching team, and I know the Diwal Senegal is the new set piece coach. I wouldn't have too much feelings with him, but from what I understand, the forwards are very happy with where the set piece is going and the line out and stuff. So no, it's definitely very exciting, and everyone seems to be enjoying preseason a lot. And it's obviously very tough, but when you're doing it with your teammates, it's good crack. So yeah, it's just exciting to get to the games now. There's a game this weekend against Worcester I'm not involved in, but it'll just be exciting to see how the lads go and how this new plan is put in place. It'll obviously be a bit rusty for the first time out, but I'm excited to see how the game goes.
Definitely, yeah. The Val Senecal, I'm really looking forward to seeing the impact he has. Obviously, because last year we saw the Maul wasn't the strongest, but apparently he is a bit of a ruthless man from what we've seen online. So looking forward to seeing if he can add a bit of viciousness to us. I want
Yeah,
to
no,
chat before you go. Sorry, go ahead.
sorry. It's funny when we do our, like, at the end of training, the backs will go do the backs and the forwards will do the forward stuff, and the forwards are always giving out that they look over at us like kicking kicks to each other and cheering, and their heads stuck in them all, and they're pushing and grunting. So it's kind of the joys of being in the back. Sometimes when you look over at them poor lads and they're doing live mauls against each other, and the lads fucking the heads off each other, and we're over cheering, doing crossbar challenges and stuff. So
Keep you uppies.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, if you're listening to this and you've got a young child, make sure they're back. Don't make them
Yeah,
forwards.
exactly.
It's just not
Yeah,
worth it.
definitely.
I want to chat before you go, Tom, about Sevens rugby. Obviously, the picture that was floating around there after the current team success of the original kind of team. You're obviously a part of that original team. Do you have fond memories of that Sevens?
Definitely, yeah. That was like, it was a couple of the best years of my life. Like, it was class. We were traveling the world with 12 lads, and like, when I was saying, we were playing against kind of very weak rugby nations, and we were winning games like 50-60-0, so we didn't have to be nervous about anything. So it was just like we were going to these tournaments knowing we were going to win, and
You weren't
wouldn't have
playing
had to.
Fiji, for example.
Like, towards the end of my reign, we started to play some better teams, but like the first couple of years, we were just walking tournaments. Like, we were in like Division C of Europe playing against the likes of Turkey and Cyprus and lads you'd never heard of playing rugby before. So we were just walking these tournaments and getting treated like kings at the after functions and stuff. So no, it was class. And sevens is different to 15s. Like there's only 12 of you on the team, and you get to know everyone so well, and you kind of you spend a lot of time together. And I'm sure now when they're on the World Series, even more so because they're traveling all the way across the world and stuff to these class cities, and they're being put up in the best hotels. And obviously the games are a lot tougher, but I'm sure there's a luxurious side to it as well. Staying in 5-star hotels, traveling business class across the world. It's a nice lifestyle to have. But yeah, no, this year it was incredible to see them get to the Olympics. I was definitely tuning in, and even like Friendy has such a big interest in the sevens, and Porchy and Bod as well, who have come from it as well. So there's often times where we're away on away games and the sevens might be on that weekend, and Porchy always has it up on his laptop and we'd always be watching it. So no, it was obviously a class year for them lads, and hopefully they kick on again now in the World Series this year.
I was gonna say, are you still in touch with the likes of say Sean McNulty, who was on that original team? Like, do you still be in touch with those guys?
Yeah, there's still a WhatsApp group with the original lads or whatever, and anytime they're playing, there's a few good looks going in or whatever. If something funny has happened in the current squad, they might throw it into that group just to show us what's going on. But no, like yeah, I definitely be in touch with them, and actually saw a few of them. Actually, when I was flying out to Portugal, I met Ian Fitzpatrick, who would have been in the original one with me, and I was just chatting to him about the Olympics, and he said it was unbelievable. He said it was obviously very different to a normal Olympics where you could be like mixing with other nations and going out and stuff. But he said it was still an unbelievable experience, and they were all off to get their Olympic rings tattooed on them that weekend.
Yeah,
so
of course,
pretty cool. Pretty cool, to be honest.
You kind of have to at that stage, wouldn't you? Look, it's still very much in its infancy as well at that stage of the sevens in Ireland. Like, what is possible for this team? What do you think is next for them? Is it regular Olympic appearances and actually contesting?
I think so, yeah. Well, I think that should definitely be the goal. Like, Ireland are top 3 or 4 rugby nations in the world. Like, they should definitely be Olympics every time it comes around now. And I think just that just the World Series being consistently in the top half of the table. I know like Fiji are probably a step above a lot of the other nations, but like Ireland should be competing with like the likes of Australia, South Africa, France, England, all these teams regularly. And they did very with the first year on the series this year, and I think they were mid-table, which is class because it's a very competitive sport. So just continue that and continue to creep their way up the table. And I think there was talk of Ireland maybe applying for a leg of the World Series, which would be incredible. Like I don't know if you've ever been to one, but the World Series sevens events are just something else. Like it's pretty much a party for 3 days straight. So I think one of them in the Aviva or wherever would go down a treat, and I think the Irish public would definitely buy into it. So if they could try get one of them, maybe I think it would do a lot for the sport in the country.
Yeah, definitely. Well, as you said, now that they're going to the Olympics and stuff, that'll definitely inspire kind of the next generation to kind of look into it. Mm-hmm. You've already mentioned Connacht have a few ex-sevens players. You've made the jump from sevens to 15s and kind of and back and forth. What's harder to transfer to for people like us who've never done it? Is it harder to come from the sevens to the 15s or vice versa?
It's way harder to go from 15s to sevens. Oh my god, like by a mile. I'd say like it's.
Why is that?
Like in 15s, you might get this feeling that you're absolutely blown out of your arse. You might get it like twice in the game, but in sevens, it's literally from 30 seconds into the game till the end of the game, you feel like that, and you just feel sick for the whole game, and you're just trying to keep up. And like you obviously get fitter the more you play it, but like I don't think no matter how fit you are, there's so much space you have to cover. You're always going to be absolutely shattered on the pitch, and you just don't get that feeling in 15s because there's so many of you covering the pitch. It's just like there's obviously more contact and more you're sore after a 15s game, but just like it's like, have you heard of the Bronco, the fitness test?
I have.
It's like a sick fitness test that all rugby teams do now, but like the feeling you have at the end of that, you kind of have that feeling throughout the whole game of sevens. So that's the only way I can explain it to lads who haven't played. And Porchy and Bod and all will say the same, that like not playing sevens is just a different level of fitness. And I can only imagine how fit you have to be to play on the World Series, because as I said there, we were playing like easier teams and walking in tries kind of willy-nilly here and there, but like to play against the likes of Australia, Fiji, South Africa, I'd say you just have to be so fit. And I definitely say that's the toughest part of sevens. But then like obviously the skill side of it and the kicking side of it, and all that kind of crosses over, and it definitely benefits players, particularly backs. I think young backs in the academy, if they have chances to go in and train with the sevens and do one or two tournaments here and there, I always advise them to go do it, because you just get so much more touches in a sevens game. You're going to be touching the ball. Maybe a winger in a 15s game might touch the ball 5 or 6 times, but in a sevens game, you're going to touch it 10, 20 times, even though the game is shorter. So it's definitely, it's only a good thing for someone who's still developing and wants to develop their skills and develop their fitness and defense as well.
Yeah, you mentioned Ben O'Donnell, and we have a running joke on the podcast here about every time he puts up on Instagram, he's in the middle of a forest or like the middle of a woods or a field. Is he just a really outdoors guy, or what's the story?
I don't know. I think he's just getting to, like, I think he's making the most of his time on the side of the world. Like, I think anytime he has a chance, he's off doing something or visiting some part of Ireland, which is probably the right way to do it. Like, he's come the whole way across the world to play rugby over here, so he might as well see what this side of the world has to offer. And I think he's definitely enjoying his time here. And he obviously struggled a little bit last year with his injuries and stuff, and his knee was still kind of at him, and he didn't really get a chance to get a proper run of games. So he's come back into this pre-season fresh, and he looked really good in that game that I spoke about earlier, in that in-house game. So I'm looking forward to seeing more of Benny this year as well, because hopefully he'll get a chance to string together a few more performances. But he's definitely looking good in pre-season anyway.
Yeah, we could see that his progression from the start of the year to the end of last year was massive. So, but yeah, we're hoping that his Instagrams get just more and more weirder landscapes as the year goes on, just to he eventually ends up in like a desert or something.
I'll tell him, the lads on the podcast. You know, anyway.
It's great. I've seen him once actually at the Hatch, and he was lovely guy. So, he's one of the few guys as well as kept the haircut. We're seeing Gav Thornbury got rid of his. Johnny Murphy was the biggest shock. Got rid of his haircut. What's happening in the Connacht camp, Tom? What's going on?
I don't actually know. Well, I don't know what was going on with them in the first place, having that hairstyle. So I'm kind of happy they got rid of it, to be honest. But no, I think Murph was a weird one. Like, Murph was just renowned for that mullet, wasn't he? Everyone knew him because he had that big long mullet. So it was very weird the day he came in without his. He came in with like a skin tight fade, like he just looked like a different man. But who else? I think Big Abe hasn't cut his hair in a while. He is kind of, I can't remember what it was like at the end of last season, but he has a big long hair down here now at the minute.
So the ponytail is going to be in great form this year.
Yeah, and Dom Roberts from McCoy, have you seen his headshot? Have a look at his headshot. He has massive big hair again now as well. So
I think I saw him and Philly Beelan were comparing locks, were they?
Yeah. You'll see a few different hairstyles this year, all right, but I think I'll just stick to the scissors all over.
Yeah, it's just a classic, you know. Just like even last sevens question: who do you think on the current Connacht team, obviously excluding the likes of yourself, Porchy, and Bod, who do you think would make a really good sevens player?
Let me think now. I think like the obvious one would be like Tiernan and Heels and them sort of lads. But I'm trying to think of someone who. Like, there's a place in sevens for back rowers who are like fit and well able to carry and pat and have good skills as well. Like, I reckon like JB or someone like that could be very handy on a sevens team. Like, people think that all sevens players are these wingers who can run around the place, but like a lot of the Fijian sevens teams are like 110 kilo back rowers who are just very skillful and very fit. So I reckon like Jared could be a very handy at sevens. Tom Farrell will be very good. He's obviously has the hands and the offloading ability. Tiernan, Heels.
Dennis Buckley, obviously, when he's back to fitness.
And maybe not him, but
Poor Dennis.
I think he'd be happier if I said he could play for Man United or something. I think. So.
Okay, yeah, I think I saw him on Instagram looking for tickets already. Oh, unbelievable!
He was crying all day on Friday when Ronaldo signed.
Well, I laughed at that. It was the day before. It was Ronaldo's a snake, and then back literally a day later, he was back to being the hero that he is.
Yeah. No, I can't complain. I'm very happy about that result.
You're a big United fan too, are you?
Yeah, this is the United House, the lads flag us. They call it the Pogba Palace.
The Pogba Palace, very good. I like that. That's good. Yeah, look, we've got a few questions in, Tom, to finish on. I think I got a few in from some friends of yours, and I won't say from who, but I think you'll be able to kind of work out probably from the questions. But the first one's the best one, purely because it's who it's from and the sentence it's from. So it's what happens when you run at Big Papa. So who do you think that's from, Tom?
Well, I think I know who that's from, and there's actually I'll actually get the clip and send it in to you. It was like one of my first trainings back this year, and I carried. There's a ruck. The ball went over 9 past it here, and I got up and I saw Abe was kind of like he had left a gap in the defensive line, and I saw the gap, and I just kind of ran straight back for it off 9, and I called for it. I was Hubert at 9, and I was like, "Here, Hugh, hit me," and like he turned to pop it to me, and then I looked in front, and Abe had somehow filled a hole straight in front of me, and I ran into him, and like I actually got folded in half. The ball went flying forward. And all I'll say is I'll never run into him again, and I'm very happy he's on my team and not on the other team. But
yeah, you saw a gap. It was actually a trap, is what he had set for you there. Obviously, yeah.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
exactly. And then the clip was put up in the meeting, and everyone had a good laugh at it anyway. So that was.
Yeah, if you can get me that clip, I will post that on everything. That is brilliant.
I'll try to find it. Yeah.
I also love the fact that he calls himself Big Papa, which is just. I thought that was just a fan thing, but do you all call him that, or is it Abe or?
No, he made it up himself, and he wants all the fans to start calling him it. So I think he tries to get us to say it on social media.
Okay.
So he drives that.
Fans are there. Yeah, we're already there. I'll be honest with you, the next two are also from Big Papa. He said, "What do you think of Sammy Arnold?" With no context whatsoever, which is just such a. I don't know if that's a good question or not, but what do you think of Sam Arnold?
I think he's one of the hardest men on the team. That's what I think. I don't know why he's even. I don't know what he's talking, what he's trying to get at from that. But no, Sammy's definitely. He's one of the toughest lads on the team. He's probably after Abe. He's probably the person I'd least like to run into next. And I said it on things before that like it's class having Sammy outside you because you just know he's gonna kill someone or like if you slip off a tackle, he's just gonna jump in and try hurt. Like Sammy is the type of player that like doesn't tackle people to tackle them. He tackles them to hurt them. He wants to absolutely kill them. So it's nice having him on your side. And I think last year we got a good run of games together and we built a nice partnership. So hopefully we get a few more chances at that this year.
Yeah, definitely. Last one from Big Papa. This one, I hope this doesn't get you into legal ramifications, Tom, but how did you keep your hair looking slick when the barbers were closed?
Oh, no, yeah. Well, there was a Big Papa himself opened a barber shop in the sports ground. He was charging €20 a pop, and even he was taking €20 off the academy lads and everything to cut their hair. The poor academy lads. He was making them pay, and then next thing he was coming in with all these new clothes and stuff that all the academy lads had bought. All the academy lads were giving him the money for stuff. No, he was. In fairness, Big Papa was very good at cutting the old hair, and he had I think Bundy actually gave him a clippers, and he used to set up in the showers in the changing room, and people would line up and they'd get their hair cut. So that's how all the Connacht lads were looking so fresh during lockdown.
Oh, you were happy with the job we did, were you?
Yeah, as I said, I keep it nice and plain, and
yeah.
I just said, just look at how my hair is now, and just make it the same amount shorter all around, and then it look good.
That's a lot of trust to put into someone because he could have give you a reverse mohawk or something, but
no, I must say no, he did a good job and he was very good. So
worth the €20. So.
Yeah, worth €20.
Okay, that's the last of the questions from Big Papa. Next question is again from I'll say a player, but I'll see if you can guess who it is from just by the question. Again, no context to this, but I looked it up and it does check out. I was asked to ask you about your Twitter banner, which is the Daily Mail logo. So first of all, can you guess who that's from, or was that too vague?
It's either Owen Masterson, Jack Carty, Conor Fitzgerald. Any of them?
None of them.
Is it a current Connacht player?
Yeah, current Connacht player. Yeah.
Oh, Gav Thornbury.
No, none of the above. You'll have to go back. I can't tell you.
It could actually be from anyone because they all call but because the lads seem to think that I know all the transfer gossip in the rugby world, and if anyone's on the move, I seem to know about it, and so I just got this nickname of the Daily Mail, and I did it for a joke once. I put it as my Twitter thing, but like I didn't think anyone used Twitter or anyone looked at my Twitter, but people have obviously seen it now. So
I looked it up straight away, Tom. I looked it up straight away.
And then actually I was saying there about the headshot day last week, we had to do a celebration, so the lads actually bought me a Daily Mail newspaper, and my celebration is now me like reading the Daily Mail. So that's gonna come up if I score a try this year.
I'll be looking forward to seeing that. Hopefully, loads of tries this year.
Yeah, exactly. So, hopefully, yeah.
Last question then again comes from, it's not a player, but it's someone involved with the team. But this might not be okay to air, but we'll see. What did Tom say in the away game versus Edinburgh last season? And then he also included the hashtag out half.
That's from Joycey.
Yes, it is.
He says it was the greatest one-liner he's ever heard on a weekday.
Oh, you can't preface it with that, Tom. Yeah, it has to be good now after saying that.
No, it wasn't even good. It was just, I don't know what I was thinking, but we were it was that away game to Edinburgh where Fitzy went off really early, and we didn't have a 10 on the bench, so it was I was thrown in 10, and then I think it was like the last kick of the game, and I had got all my kicks thankfully, and I just kicked it over, and I threw the tee to Joycey, and I was like, "Jesus, this playing 10 is too easy." And
oh no way!
That was it anyway. But apparently Joycey microphoned it up to the coaches, and they were just like, "Tell him to shut up and play on. Like, we still have a game to win here."
So you're getting cocky. You're getting cocky.
Yeah, well, I don't know. It was just a kicking thing. I was just saying these kicks are all too easy. I don't know what I was doing. It was obviously just the adrenaline running through me. But that's
well, it's always good to have confidence. Always good to have confidence.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, all the good times of confidence.
Next time Jack misses a kick, you can go over and be like, "Geez, Jack, come on, that's awful easy. This is easy game."
Luckily, but look, missed too many.
Yeah, that's it. Well, look, you can go back and try and find out who asked that Daily Mail question. And see who the culprit was. But I'll leave it there. Tom, look, we're an hour in there. I hope that was fun for you. I appreciate you coming on. I really do. Best of luck with the season upcoming. Well, hopefully, as the rest of us fans will be in supporting you actually in person in the sports grounds. Hopefully next Friday with that preseason game against London Irish, and then throughout the season in the URC. So again, thanks very much, Tom. I appreciate it.
Cheers, Stephen. Thanks a million for having me on.